You've got like obscure words
No,
and like sets of letters.
It could be a joint
That's really
name
all you
combined
got.
of two names. At that point, we're fondling. We're fondling.
That's just
both,
two men's names.
There's two hands on a watch. There's some poetry there.
Both Grubble and Forsay. That's great.
Greetings and welcome to this week's aBlogtoWatch Weekly. You did not tune in because you were not full of wisdom this morning. Whenever you're listening to this podcast, you did not tune into the live show, the live recording on a Tuesday at about 7:30 in the morning on aBlogtoWatch Weekly Live on a Tuesday. And therefore, you've already missed the high horology conversation about SquareBob Sponge. Is that his name? SpongeBob? No, it's not. It's SpongeBob. Has anyone ever actually got... I don't know. Ariel,
SquareBob Rick Pants.
SquareBob Rick Pants. That's fine. I'm happy with that moniker. That seems like a good new nickname. I'm happy with that. I've been called worse on a regular basis. So we're happy to go for that. But yes, you missed the conversation. Apparently, so did I miss the conversation as well. But it did verge into territory which we're going to start with this morning, because we mentioned a brand that had been involved with said character in the past, and that maybe leads us on to thinking about what brands might be available to purchase or might interest us or might interest others. Ariel, you've penned an article, Luxury Watch Brands are an obligation, not an investment.
Yes, I am trying to stymie fundraising efforts by many people in our industry space, not because I hate money, but because I hate hearing about people having bad business relationships, or there aren't proper expectations laid out from the beginning. Remember, I'm also a lawyer. I specialize in contracts. And something I learned early on is don't go into a business relationship where both parties have a completely different idea about how it's going to end up.
Yes.
We have had many situations during my career in watches where there's been investors either starting up a new company, buying a brand, investing in a brand, whether that's a retailer or a company that makes watches or something else. And very often they have to just keep cycling through investors, or the investors aren't enough, or they have to keep begging a wider pool of people who are potential investors, which is now just the watch collectors themselves. The problem is they're asked to take risks, but they get no equity. All those pre-orders, that's what actually, banks and stuff used to have to do. And now regular folks are being asked to fund operations in a way that they don't really get any safety or security. The point of this article was to discuss what a watch brand, whether it's an old one or a new one, really needs. And that when you purchase it or have a stake in it, the goal should not be to extract regular profits, but to think about the overall value of the company. Because if you ever sell it, it's not really going to be a function of necessarily the money it's making, but it's going to be a perceived value. So you have to invest as much as possible constantly into product, into marketing, and human beings. There's no room for profits. Every watch brand essentially needs to have all the money be reinvested back into it for it to remain competitive these days. So the idea that you're going to invest in a watch brand to earn profits, silliness, doesn't work, because best case scenario, you make money and it just harms the ability for the brand to spend money in advertising or hiring or something like that. On the other hand, if you love what the company does, like its products, want to go to its events, and think that if it might sell to a big group someday, you'll earn something, that's a better reason to own a stake. You are considering the brand an obligation, right? It's not something just sort of to give you returns, quick, easy returns, but it's sort of something like you have to take care of, you have to nurture it, you have to maybe baby it. And the joys you get are not monetary, maybe product. If you're an investor of a brand, I imagine you get some watches out of it and go to their events and maybe get a say in the stuff they make. But don't expect a big return, because again, for the most part, the way that brands are set up, all that money needs to be reinvested into it. So no one's disagreed with me on this yet, and I don't think the financial history of these investments would disagree. And as I said at the beginning, what's most important to me is unscrupulous, people asking for money. I don't want them to trick more investors. I mean, we have a lot of brands right now that are owned by investors who are like, oh my God, what did I get into? Because they were sold a bunch of hot air about how this is a great investment. Oh, look, Richemont, blah, blah, blah. They love buying these brands. And the reality is, and I'd love it if any of you want to disagree, is that these companies cost money and don't really make a lot of money.
Ripley, good morning. David, good morning. The best and worst independent investments in watch brands that you can recall? Who really lost their shirt investing in a watch brand?
Well, that's a tough call because we don't know how much. We don't always know how much had
Rolex
already
and
been invested.
Yes. Bought a brand.
They
3 months
inherited
later,
it.
closed the whole thing down.
They bought the company. It was part of it. They knew what they were getting into.
They didn't buy it; they inherited it, so they didn't spend a dime. So I think that's a different situation. But I don't know. I would think something like some preposterous thing that was very expensive to develop, like Breguet, or brands with like 5 different or HYT, brands with like.
Are you saying that because
high-tech
Breguet is coming back with a new investor, which is actually happening?
Yeah, I'm shocked.
So you said
it's
Breguet,
happening.
and
In 2 months, we'll see the new Breguet under new investor ownership. I thought you actually knew that.
You said Breguet.
I'm not even making that up.
I heard Bremen when you said Breguet. I heard Bremen.
Well, that's another B one. There's also Breitling.
Breitling, yes. Well, no, they seem to be doing okay at the very least. Breitling, Ripley, any skeletons in cupboards that you can think of that are just
no people
seem
like to think they can do the Jean-Claude Beaver thing. If I'm gonna buy Blancpain for $75 and sell it back to a luxury conglomerate for millions, well, maybe in that era if you were Jean-Claude Beaver, but if you're not, and it's in this modern era where there's so many historic names coming out of the archives, that's not really possible anymore. So I think there's going to be a lot of brands that cash was dumped into them either to purchase the rights or to invest in them. And that brand might not be around in another 10 years because it was inflated at a time when that brand was hot, but it's kind of like a nightclub. It's really hard to keep a nightclub going and be popular year after year. You might have a few popular years, but 10 years down the road, there's not that many nightclubs that just maintain the it place in wherever their hometown is year after year. And those that are kind of institutions like Rolex. So, best of luck to all of them. But I think there'll be quite a lot that will go the way of Karl F. Bucher in the future.
How's MVMT and Daniel Wellington doing?
Those guys.
What?
100 million from Movado for MVMT.
Yeah.
How much?
$100 million with another 100 million option if they hit performance goals, which I don't think happened.
They bought it right at the very end of this whole thing.
Oh yeah. Those guys were really happy to get out.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
but it's funny. Like the second they purchased it was the moment we never heard about them again.
Exactly. What's going on with these purchases?
So much
this happens too often. Yeah, it happens all the time. That some people, like some companies, spend tens or hundreds of millions, and then nothing happens to the brand. Why is that?
Here's what news to everyone: high performance companies are doing well. Often aren't for sale. Okay, the ones that need your money are hiding something. Maybe not 100% of the time, but like what, 98% of the time?
Yeah, you think it'd be more difficult. Like, yeah, I mean, if the average VC investment house, let's take Bremen as an example. Because it happens to be there, if the average investment house had just surveyed 100 random watch YouTubers, or not even YouTubers, people with watches on their account photo on Instagram and says, is it a good idea to spend $20 million here or $100 million? I think the wisdom of the crowd would probably be able to give a better answer than all the accountants from EY that you'd employ to do the due diligence on any said deal. So maybe we should offer our services. Maybe that's the future. The future is financial services from watch YouTubers. Just, you want to invest $100 million in a watch
hit us up at that plus 44 number. We'll happily weigh in professionally and let you know and be like, totally. Jacques Edreau,
exactly.
$500 million sounds like a very sound investment.
That's the solution, David.
We've got to be breaking some laws right now.
We'll just do hit, miss, me. I'm not sure in which country, though, because we're in 3 different countries here doing the show. So which one are they going to get us on?
I'm in space.
I'm in a poor cabin. I need to find me first.
I have been consulted by all variety of investors in the past for all the variety of either buying brands. I was asked, not by this latest purchase of Bremont, by one of the previous ones or the previous investor rounds, if I thought it was a good idea. I've been asked about investing in Richemont, Swatch Group, LVMH, all that stuff, and I've given my unadulterated opinion, and I also make it. I guess I made it clear to them. I don't make it clear to most people. I have no stake in any of these things. I would not fundamentally invest in any of the publicly traded watch brands. Not because I'm against any of them, but because if in my mind of like what type of value an investor gets, it doesn't make any sense. You're just subsidizing these operations, which is fine if you love what they do. But like to invest, they're just kind of tricking you into giving them money and value.
Is there a stupidest investment that you were ever approached to do that you were just like, I'm actually going to say, yes, you should do that because that just sounds hysterical. Just you go right ahead and spend $50 million on buying X. Knock yourself out, go for it, see what happens.
I mean, we know that if you just hired a really good graphic designer and had some good connections to Switzerland to make a good product, you could take a fraction of that money and just like make a mirror fancy brand. Maybe no one would hear about it, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't come with all these obligations. Like if you just want to have a pretty watch and some nice branding around it, it doesn't need to cost you that much. The watch brands are kind of a
macrocosm of the watches themselves. People always say, what watch should I buy in as investment? It's like the watch isn't the investment. Some happen to go up in value, but you should get the one you like. This would be something you buy because you enjoy it and you treat yourself and you wear it and you fondle it or do whatever with it. But like to think this is some monetary tool that's going to outperform legitimate financial securities that are engineered to be investments, that's short-sighted. And, a watch brand isn't necessarily the thing you buy because you're looking for returns. So there's usually you have to really like it. And if you don't, you might make some money, but the products are going to be uninspired. And just like MVMT, it's going to be short-lived.
Well, that does beg the question that Ripley has posed: which brand would you most like to fondle? Ripley, what's top of your list? Unlimited amounts of money, complete vanity purchase, no expectation of making money. What brand are you buying?
I get to...
the whole brand?
Yeah, you can buy it. You get to fondle the brand as its owner, as its brand CEO. You can jet around spending all their money. They don't need to make a profit. You get to be the guy that greets everybody.
It just sounds wrong to say I want to fondle Roger Smith. So I'm going to remove any brand that happens to be a gentleman's name from this equation.
Fondling.
Yeah, I know.
I've taken a lot of them out, Ripley. You're really narrowing it down. You've got like obscure words and like sets of letters.
It could be a joint name combined of two names. At that point, we're fondling.
That's
both,
just two men's names.
There's two hands on a watch. There's some poetry there.
Both Grubble and Forsay. That's great.
Well, I've sorted out this week's title, that's for sure. Fondling Roger Smith. That will do.
For that was the biggest non-answer, actually, to your question, Rick, but that's okay.
Well, you could give me a proper answer then, David. What brand are you fondling?
Probably Hublot, because they produce enough of those things that are dripping with diamonds. And I love fondling diamonds. So Hublot
fondling diamonds. You just go to the factory in a big bucket they have of all these diamonds that they stole.
Stick my face in it.
Just stick your face in it. A little bit of adhesive. You come out. What pop star is it that's all tattooed? You just face full of diamonds. That'd be you. For all the diamonds that have been stolen off the end of drill bits, you can just stick your face in them.
Like the Bond villain.
Yes, Ariel, most fondleable brand.
Yeah, I'd probably take a stab at trying to make Breguet great again.
Make Breguet great again.
Yeah.
Would that be the kind of like language you would use currently to make Breguet great again? Would
they're not great right now. They could be.
Right, okay.
So I'm trying to be actually literal about it.
Make Breguet great again.
It was great. Not amazingly great now. Could be great again.
Could be great again. That's fine. So, Fondling Roger Smith and Making Breguet Great Again. That sounds like a great show title. That's my next job this morning. All sorted. I don't even need to go back and listen to the show. Right, in the chat, we have Peter suggesting, I assume this is a brand rather than something about David. Vittorio and David 1897. Does that mean something?
It means, but it's more like a local reference here.
Is that a local? Oh, we got a local. Right, okay, so you this is someone who has some inside knowledge. It's a Hungarian joke.
Inside jokes, yeah.
Inside joke.
I appreciate it.
Right, okay.
Yeah. What happened in 1897 that we need to know about?
And is Victoria a David? Is that Beckham?
Yeah, it's all made up. That's the funny part in it.
Very good, very good. Well, it pleases me immensely to have a specific Hungarian heckler in the room just for David jokes.
So, you mean a second one?
A second one, yes, other than David himself. So, Peter, if you would like to continue heckling David in the chat, that would be great. I'll just display them and we'll just see David giggling in the background. So the fun, in fact, I may even be prepared to take the risk of displaying something in Hungarian that I don't understand. If you can keep it not too rude, and we'll see if we can get a laugh out of David as I display it.
Let's keep it PG-13. Yeah.
PG-13. Anyway, good stuff. Right. Well, seeing as we were discussing them just there, David, let's have a look at this watch. If I can find your Hublot review from this morning. New release, Hublot Big Bang Unico Magic Ceramic is the first multicolour ceramic watch. Is that scraping the bottom of the barrel that is the best thing you have to say about this watch, is that it's the first multicolour ceramic watch?
I'm not sure if that's the best thing. Sometimes there are reasons why things have, had not been done before. Maybe there's a reason why it's the first, why you have the chance to be the first. There was an AP before this that was just a proto that debuted last year. But, I write in this article that many years ago, I think 4 or 5 years ago, I went to the Hublot manufacturer and they already showed us these little ceramic discs that had these little islands of color in them, and they had like some cool patterns and stuff like that, and patterns which were much, much cooler than what we were looking at. This watch looks like it has the bubonic plague, really. It just doesn't look like a healthy watch at all. I don't know how they came up with this. It's such an unattractive pattern. It's difficult to put into words. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, this watch is how I currently feel plague-wise. It does look a bit like that. I was going to be the question I asked is, if you could make a multicolored watch, why would this be the first one you would do?
Yeah. This looks like the last one.
I mean, especially as it doesn't have, I wouldn't really say it was multicolored. It's just kind of grey with some blue. It doesn't feel like if it was yellow colors and green or red, white and blue, then you'd think, oh yeah, it's multicolored. You look at this and you go, no, it's a spotty watch. You don't think, oh, multicolored, they've cracked it. Aren't they magnificent? You just think, why have they put spots on a watch? It's a bit of a weird one. 33,000 USD limited to 20. Feels like a reasonable price, bizarrely. Yeah. But yeah, Ripley, what would you have done with the ability
we
to
have
do
to remember that
ceramic?
not all colors are possible in ceramic with this technology that Hublot uses to make their colored ceramic. They like to describe the ceramic as a soccer ball net.
Ripley, just tip
no,
forward.
No, it says Bayer, actually. And the shirt is from aBlogtoWatch, and it is a Pepsi bezel, or red and blue soda cola time zone bezel.
So don't forget the aBlogtoWatch shop. There are no multicolored ceramic. Although, actually, to be fair, the one thing this watch would make is a nice T-shirt. The thing, like, give some interesting colours in a T-shirt, but we don't have interesting colours on a.
I think there's ties that already have this polka dot pattern on them.
A polka dot T-shirt.
I think it's interesting. Like David said, I don't know why this was the one they chose to debut this technology. Maybe it was the one that they could most readily industrialize and put out at this limited edition. But this isn't necessarily a new thing per se with different types of dyes and how you put them together and sinter the ceramic. You can get different colors. Look at Rolex's split color Pepsi bezel. There's that black and white Chanel watch thing. This is possible, but this is an interesting way of putting it. I can't say there's another polka dot bezel ceramic Hublot that currently exists. So it does look distinct and would get people asking, what's happened to your watch? What ailment has it acquired? And then you could politely launch into this whole conversation about the multicolored ceramic and the technology behind it. So I guess it is a conversation starter.
Would you want that conversation to stop really, really quickly, Ariel? Somebody trying to start it with you.
I'm an Hublot fan. I have to say, aesthetically, it's not my cup of tea. I don't intellectually feel that this is the only multicolor ceramic we've seen. I've read the entire press release carefully to try to understand what they've done here, which is different than others. They seem to kind of beat around the bush. I believe that there's something that could be done with this could be cool. David and I both know that they've been experimenting with this for quite a while now in terms of, experimenting with the stuff. Eventually they just have to say, we need to come out with some new stuff, and this is on the list of things. I guess I'm just sort of going to sit by and see what they do next. This is not the one that excites me. Obviously, I think that when people see this, they should be like, oh, wow, I'm glad someone was finally able to do that. And everyone's question is, what am I looking at? Is that even nice? Why just the bezel? Like, there's just a lot of questions here. Like, they really didn't seem to go all in. It was sort of like they've announced they have exciting new military technology, but what they debut is like nothing very special. So, like, are they holding back? Is that what this is all about? I remember when Rolex came out with what is, their red and blue bezel, where they had a whole complicated technology of sort of merging the colors together. They admit it's different pigments. Hublot admits it's different pigments. So multicolor ceramic, I guess I just don't know what they're trying to claim. They're not specific enough. This just causes a lot of cognitive dissonance. So I'm very open-minded, but I'm not sold yet that I should be excited.
Okay, hands up if you believe that what we're going to see at Watches and Wonders from Hublot is this watch, but in lots of different variations. We're going to see a white and red polka dot. We're going to see a yellow and green polka dot. And this is what we're being led to. This is going to be Hublot's latest craze, is polka dot watch bezels. Is this what we expect? Geneva's
and
going to
all
hold
20 people that got this, they're going to be like, oh, God damn it.
Exactly. Well, my curiosity
I got the ugly one.
Are they the same? Are all the bezels the same polka dot pattern? So they're all individual.
Yep. So
there you go. You can have a one of one of a bubonic plague watch. I wonder what disease this is actually most like. But if you woke up one morning and looked like this polka dot, what would you be suffering from? I'm not really sure. If anyone in the chat or
probably
online,
some
what's
sort of plague?
It's some comic book disease.
Related. Comic book disease, yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Now, before we go any further, Ariel Ripley, you had some travelling last week. Off to Geneva you went. What did you see? But more importantly, first of all, what did you watch on the plane?
I finally got to see
content?
The Moon Thieves, which we've discussed on a previous episode. Great watch enthusiast movie. It's as we've discussed before, it's amazing how so many little details are so accurate. They're discussing period correct parts and super fakes and the tight shots of this Omega Speedmaster using actual 3-2-1 movement, and then they've got a Speedmaster Moonwatch sitting in a winder, because you totally need that on a manually wound caliber. So it was a fantastic movie. It was the quickest hour and a half, 2 hours or so that I could have passed on Lufthansa. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Very
good. Ariel, what was your...
I don't think I saw any movies with watches in it. I was looking for them. But I didn't see that. Oh, Mickey. I want to see Mickey 17.
Yeah, Mickey 17. Should we do a quick review of what we think Mickey 17 is going to be like? Hit miss,
I heard it did not get good reviews, but I still want to see it.
It's been panned, but I still want to see it.
There's a lot of movies that get panned I like, and there's a lot of movies that people love that I don't like. So,
I mean, movie critics know nothing. Clearly, people that just go on and just criticize things that other people do for no good reason.
I hate that kind of person.
And can't do it themselves. Yeah. I hate that kind of person. I hate that kind of show.
I could never do that.
Podcasts like that, YouTube channels, I hate them all. People who just criticize things. Those that can't do it themselves and just go online and criticize. Anyway, yes. So how was Geneva then when you finally landed?
Well, we made it there on time. That I can say.
Good.
Yeah,
good.
And there was a lot of cream and cheese. Oh boy.
All right, okay.
The cheese was flowing like cream.
Ripley's having flashbacks by the looks of it at the amount of cheese that was consumed.
Well, we can't talk about specifically the product we saw. We mainly were there for Vacheron Constantin. It's not a secret. It's their 270th anniversary. I think you'll find this very interesting. Vacheron Constantin is mortified at the idea that anyone would celebrate a anniversary with a 5 decimal, like 275 years, absolutely not for them. They are only a whole sort of 2 decimal number anniversary celebrators.
Yeah,
so it's
Ariel
going to be 270
said,
and then 280
you're already preparing
years.
for the 275th, and they very seriously said, no, whole numbers for anniversaries only. So, yeah.
Which has got to be a bit of a novel policy of the watch industry. So if you need to know an interesting quirk about a brand you like, that's something Vacheron hates, is the number 5.
The number 5.
Yeah, watch them change their mind in 4.5 years' time. Oh, we're 275 years now.
Yeah, 275 does seem like more of a celebratory than 270 and 280.
I think it's a little bit different. In Switzerland, that's very different, you know? We're still celebrating lame anniversaries, but doing it just a little bit differently.
You can't do it every 5. I guess saying, well, we'll do it every decade, that seems fair. That's reasonable. Some brands are happy to just make it to 10 years.
But so chances that Vacheron has both the same management and the same ownership in 5 years' time? To be able to continue that rule?
But you know, it's a very professional team. I have to have a shout out to the people that run Vacheron right now. It's got a lot of employees. It's actually quite a large company. They've been doing kind of well. But, you know, for years, Vacheron had the reputation of being like the test bed. Like you go into Vacheron first to see if you can make it at Richemont, and then you move on elsewhere. But there's a really smart set of people. Some of them are pretty fresh to the industry, but high education, ambitious people. I kind of felt for the first time in a long time that a brand like Vacheron was in really, really good hands. It's almost run like the opposite way of a Patek Philippe, which is just like 1 or 2 decision makers at the top and a bunch of people scrambling to make favor with them. You could feel that it more like is a kind of corporate environment, but not necessarily in a bad way, but in a way that sort of embraces what the culture is. But I don't know what Ripley's take was, but I actually had a pretty good vibe from the people that are running the show there.
I thought it was refreshing how efficient things. The fact that they even had watches to show us this far ahead of Watches and Wonders is big. You know, many brands are in complete disarray this time of year, but what I saw from them while there was very healthy, signs of life, things moving, lots of ideas, not a rectangular-faced man claiming credit for all of the designs that the brand produces. And you know, like Ariel said, it's kind of the opposite of what you'd think would lead to a stale future. So it got me very excited about what they're putting forward. And just like everything they produce, everything is always beautiful. So it'll be an exciting 270th anniversary from them this year.
And the 222 in the flesh. I saw some photos.
we had the gold one that came out already. And then the new steel one, which, you know, some of our team members had already seen. It's a lovely watch. Look, it's expensive. There's no doubt about that. It's nicely made. It's comfortable. It looks cool. It's not pretentious. I was a fan of the original 222, so it's not like a new relationship for me, but I'm glad that they're making it. They've admitted that they're not going to make a lot of them, which is good because they don't really want to define the brand. again, if you can get over the price and you can get one of them, I wouldn't buy one over retail. I wouldn't do that. But it's definitely a hip watch. And again, we can't talk about the 270th anniversary product, but it's not just one. It's sort of a whole series of things. And they're doing something interesting where rather than have like one watch that kind of like randomly tells the story, they have a theme that paints a couple of watches. So I think they'll actually be among the more welcome anniversary watches out there. Because again, I think a lot of anniversary product is, to me, either vastly overpriced or not really that special.
Interesting that you say that they're not going to produce too many of these. Is this, and that it's to do with them not wanting to define the brand by the 222, obviously something that Patek got themselves embroiled in terms of the 5711. Do you think that's very obviously what they're looking at? We do not want Vacheron to be known just as the 222, and that's what everybody just asks about. Are they
their
already
bracelet watch
that?
is the overseas, so they'd be doing them a big disservice. It's part of the the historics collection, and some of those watches they keep making for years and years, but it's got to be kind of like a side thing because it's just not the bracelet watch they're trying to promote.
It's not its own collection. It's probably the one that enthusiasts take note of the most, and it has a cool history, and it's their original integrated bracelet watch, but it is part of the historics collection. It's not a standalone thing. The 222 isn't going to become a whole collection with all of the different sizes and complications. It's this thing they do that honors their past, but like Ariel mentioned, the overseas is their bracelet sports watch, and this is kind of its predecessor sibling that kind of exists as this other throwback thing they do, but it's never going to be this pillar of their catalog in the same way the overseas is.
Now, my favorite Vacheron is the 1921, what you would know as the driver's watch. Quick image on the screen for those watching on YouTube, or you can also see the video of our show on Spotify. If you happen to want to choose to use Spotify to listen to the podcast, you can also see moving pictures. How ingenious of them. Do you get to see any of these 1921s when you were there? This is my favorite Vacheron. This is the Vacheron I'd have. This is actually the only watch I would wear.
No, they didn't just pull out a bunch of watches. They were having it pretty focused on what it was. I don't know that they've come out with one of these in a while. I think they'll probably do it again, but this is not something I think that's been their collection for a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, well, there we go. I'll just need to wait till next. Well, there was another anniversary coming along in either 5 or 10 years, apparently. So maybe maybe that'll be it. We'll just need to wait and see. Goodo. Well, we'll be playing Hitmas maybe shortly. I think Azad is going to join us this morning. We will see what happens. But in the meantime, we will have a quick look at and a quick chat about 2 sets of watches that have come from and been chatted about the Louis Vuitton Tambour Classic. Now, we have a ceramic version, okay, and we also have, probably more favoured by the likes of David, the rainbow, and let me get the screen up here so we can all see rainbow and platinum. So Louis Vuitton are obviously throwing this out quite hard. They're putting quite a lot of effort behind this Tambour watch. I guess my question is it catching on? Is the Tambour starting to become a watch that we all think about when we think about the real highest end, but still mass-produced luxury watches? Is it getting through the Louis Vuitton Tambour?
Maybe not yet,
Ripley?
But it might take a little while. I think they're trying to do what Bulgari did with Octo Finissimo with these. In my opinion, this current generation of the Tambour with the integrated bracelet and the thin down case and the micro rotor movement is a very nice watch. This is kind of the first model from Louis Vuitton that isn't like epically expensive, that you could sort of see catching on with an enthusiast audience. Obviously, the brand Louis Vuitton itself is a kind of a blue chip luxury manufacturer, one of the most famous in the world. But the people who routinely purchase Louis Vuitton products probably have watches that cost tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so the brand clearly wants to make watches that exist in the same type of world. These are really nice integrated bracelet watches. They already had steel, two-tone, and solid gold. And so now they've got a ceramic one and these two gem set versions. One's got a stone dial. And, even the colors of the sapphires set into them are done to kind of emulate the colorway of Louis Vuitton's signature print. And then little details, like on the rainbow colored one, only sapphires and rubies were chosen for the gems, both corundum-based gemstones, so that the only difference would be the color rather than the gemstone itself. So little details like that, really going for, a homogeneous effect. Yes, the colors properly transition from one to the other rather than kind of a color blocking approach. Yes, they're six-figure timepieces, but they're really nice. I would happily own either one of these, and that's not something I would say about previous Louis Vuitton watches from years past.
David, is this beginning to catch on?
I couldn't tell you. I'm not sure. I've not seen any of these out in the wild, but I'm certain that there's some of them are. But these are like over 100K, 50 piece for the platinum, 30 piece for the yellow gold. So this is like super highly limited. There's very few of these will ever be made. These will all find a good home, I'm certain. Not too interested about like 80 piece limited editions, but these are cool looking for sure.
But in the world of the 100K watch, I'm not sure what else puts you in that. I mean, is it a gem set Daytona, let's say, for the sake of argument?
Is anyone that's going to cost way
that,
more?
Is anyone that's looking at that watch also thinking, well, rather than the Rolex, would Louis Vuitton give me more? Because let's face it, they're not looking at either of those watches probably for their intrinsic horological merit. They're looking at it, well, what does it say about me? Does Louis Vuitton say more about me than Rolex says about me as a brand, or Breguet, or a de Bethune, something that's elevated into that?
Certainly.
Is LV getting there, Ariel?
So I think what's important to understand about Louis Vuitton watches, as opposed to maybe potentially other things that the larger company sells, that these are not aspirational luxury watches. These are intended to be very high-end, top-of-the-ladder timepieces, especially the more artistic and gem set ones. And Louis Vuitton is very aware of what the competition prices their products at, actually tends to beat them in a lot of ways, but is still pricing themselves at the high level. They've created some great foundational watches to build art and some special editions on. The new Tambour is one of them. They have a bunch of other ones. And I think they've done a good job of making a product that is very enthusiast grade, very high design, not trying to be affordable, but trying to be something that if you are a top category spender, you feel comfortable with. So I understand who they're marketed to. I know what they've done. We know that there's really no corners cut here. If you don't like the design, that's fine. It's as good as a Nautilus. I wouldn't say that there's anything that a Nautilus really beats over this in terms of the wearing experience. Louis Vuitton is, again, a very popular company and at the highest end has the clientele for this. As others here pointed out, they're very attractive. None of us, I think, would not wear one of these. Maybe it's going to take a few more years before we start having dreams about tambours, but these are very competent. And if we could sort of afford it and we round those crowds, these would be entirely acceptable.
Good. Right. Well, let's move on. Let's get Azad into the room and we'll have a round of hit, miss, maybe. Good morning, Azad. You're live on aBlogtoWatch Weekly, live on YouTube. For all those that have no idea what I'm talking about, you can listen to this podcast. I normally drop on a Friday, but you can also watch the live recording, which tends to have a little bit extra at the beginning and a little bit extra at the end on the aBlogtoWatch Weekly live channel. Morning, Azad. How are you?
Good morning. Very well, thank you. Still freezing here in London, but getting over it. Not much more warm in Scotland, it has to be said. Right, let's go round the room. You've already told us where you are, Azad, but what are you wearing on the wrist this morning? Wearing today the Speedmaster Apollo 8, the first gen one. on a custom yellow strap.
Very nice indeed. Ripley, what branded clothing are you clad in this morning, and what are you wearing on the wrist while you sit in front of your magnificent yellow wall?
Gray, yellow-ish, yellow lighting. It all works. I'm wearing Vayer on the hat, so we have Vayer on the wrist. And if you can't tell, the little wee 24-hour subdial is red and blue, which perfectly matches the aBlogtoWatch shirt I'm wearing.
Look at the effort that Ripley's put into that colour combo this morning. Possibly slightly more than the colour combo that Ariel may have put into his pyjama wearing escapades this morning. It's worth watching the video just for that. Ariel, where are you? What are you wearing other than your PJs?
I feel like I need to get you some of these outdoor PJs because you seem a little bit envious.
Pants sponge, is that what it is?
Yes, that's right. You got it correct. Congratulations.
Good. I'm glad I'm learning. Every day's a school day.
Sponge.
I am currently wearing a watch that I think just came out like literally minutes ago. This is the latest smartwatch by OnePlus, the OnePlus Watch 3. Not the most exciting name. This is interesting, actually. It has 2 processors in it.
Hold on, just a second. It's called the OnePlus 3. Does not just call it the number 4? No, I'm confused.
Well, the brand is called OnePlus.
Right, okay, so
it's
OnePlus.
Their watch, and it's the third OnePlus watch.
So surely we should just call it number 4. That's just
there will be a 4. There will be a 4. But as I was saying, trying to find something that would be interesting to watch people, because yes, it's a Google Wear OS 5 powered smartwatch. But as I said, it has 2 processors. It has a Snapdragon processor for most of the on state. And then what it does to save power and create a longer battery life is it has like a lower power basic processor that sort of runs it in the sort of standby state. And I just think it's interesting the types of technology that are being applied to do this in the world of, mechanical watchmaking. Very rare that people are trying new systems or things like that. But in the smartwatch world, what I like about it is they're always trying new things with the hardware. There's sort of rapid development. I mean, this watch, it's like $300 and it measures the temperature of your wrist. Like Casio's only do that by accident.
Tissot will measure the temperature of your wrist and claim that it's the temperature of the atmosphere in which you're existing in.
Yeah. This one is a little bit different. It's a little bit more straightforward. There's some health reason for it too in this one.
Okay, good. David, what's on the desk? Because it's probably not on the wrist.
It is on the desk. It's a Rosenbuch The Quest that I have in for review. We met the brand at this dinner held by eBay back, I think in November or something. Yeah, in Munich. And then, we just offered to, take a look at one of these hands-on, and they sent it out, and I'm reviewing it. So look for the review on aBlogtoWatch soon.
Did you say it was called The Quest?
The Quest.
Ripley and I had a couple of amusing moments with The Quest in Geneva, because not only is that the new slogan for Vacheron Constantin's global 2025 campaign, but apparently other brands too.
Oh, that's a whole can of worms, David. The quest is not about the destination. It is about the quest itself, the journey of the quest.
Oh my God.
What you quest for is up to you and you alone.
The naming of the quest.
The naming of the...
All I'm thinking is, what's that? My name is Antigua Montoya, Prepare to Die. What's that film? Is that the Princess Bride? Yeah, we're all on a quest. Come on, surely.
We like questing around here.
No Quest fans. That was a quest. That's a classic quest.
I don't know the lines. I can't do the scene with you.
It's like one of these quotable quote films.
The Nissan Quest?
The Nissan. Yeah, the Princess Bride. I can't believe that's not at the tip of everybody's tongue, but there we go.
We need a journey into Rick's brain one of these mornings just to see what's going on.
There's generally not a lot going on. See, I think technically, although Azad's now joined us, I think
Princess Square Dress?
That's just, there you go, that's the rest. So we have Fondling Roger Smith, Making Breguet Great Again, and Princess SquarePants.
It was Sponge Princess Square Dress.
Sponge Princess Sponge Prince. That's going to get us banned from something. Some algorithm's going to ping if I try
Sponge
to put that in the
Princess
show
probably
title.
means something somewhere that we do not.
Yeah, yes. For this is a disclaimer. We're not going to check Urban Dictionary. We're just not going to check it. We're just going to assume it's okay. Right. Let's have a look at this. It's just popped on the website. So, Ariel, you can give us the lowdown on it. The Oceanix FROG300 GMT diver. Because what you need to know when you're diving is what time it is in a different time zone. Explain this watch to us. This is quite a colourful piece. Again, article has literally dropped 30 seconds ago, so this is going to be spontaneous in terms of reactions.
Yeah,
probably
this
made
brand,
into the pictures.
This brand is pretty nuts. They've got a pretty wide variety of stuff. You really got to go to their website and see it. It's all based around the same core model, which is this dive watch. Now, remember, the sort of frog man that this watch is loosely inspired by is a digital watch by Casio, right? It was a G-Shock, that sort of this asymmetrical case, and someone's sort of taken that. Seiko's done some stuff like that as well, I know. But the idea is to have a larger watch that's more comfortable to wear, and it works. They went with sort of this futuristic kind of style, but also kind of organic. It is a GMT because, why not? It's got the newer Miyota 9075 in there. A lot of lume, helium release valve, titanium cases. I just love how over-engineered these is. There's once in a while, it's rare these days, you have a brand, everything from the logo to the website to all these ridiculous accessories. It's got this weird, NFC chip in the back that allows you to identify who's wearing it, that kind of unscrews.
I'm glad they've not got out of fashion. I thought that'd been given up a few years ago. NFC
it's
chips
all
are
kinds
back.
of crazy stuff. It's just so much stuff going on here. They even mentioned it on the dial, it says ID System Plus, or whatever. And why do you need to say that? But I was charmed by how much effort went into these. They are very comfortable to wear. They're pretty neat looking, and it's sort of hard not to appreciate how much effort went into it. It's definitely not for everyone. There's sort of a rainbowish looking one. And if you recall, those rainbow colors on a dive watch, they help with sort of being a rough depth gauge because certain colors disappear the lower you go. So this is the Ox Oceanix. Not sure which one of this is the name of the brand. Maybe black. Both. FROG300 diver. And I don't know, not for everyone, but I was genuinely charmed by this watch.
Cool. Right. Well, instant reaction. Is it a hit, a miss, or a maybe? 1, 2, 3, go. Hit. Oh, look at the technology being employed by Azad there. Oh, green screen hit. I unfortunately have Ariel's screen blocked for some reason. I can't actually see. There we go. So I think it's a hit from Ariel as well. Good. Right, Azad, why is it a hit?
I like how they are clearly thinking more about the wearer and the functionality. The aesthetics are obviously quite different, but at the same time, if you're a professional diver, there's very few professional divers out there. If you're a diver enthusiast, then you're looking at this thinking, yes, this is a diving instrument. It's not a regular watch that you take diving. It's made for diving. And I think for that reason, I think it'll do really well.
Doing what it says on
just
the
look at the thing.
Ripley.
It's awesome. It's ridiculous. It's I love the one with all the colors and the yellow Velcro looking strap thing that's pictured in the review. They look so intentional, but so not, but clearly well thought out, even to the point they can NFC your dead body should your wash ashore. I'm not really sure what that thing is. It's not a very inspired looking case back, but it looks very intentional. These things are just cool. I like them. I don't know if my tiny wrist could support them, but I mean, you got to applaud them for doing something different. I love these things. These just look like tons of fun.
Yeah, 1,700 USD. Is that a value proposition, Ariel?
I think so. You have to measure it against what it would cost to make. It's all original parts. There's really nothing, other than the movement, there's really nothing there that was just sort of taken off the shelf. They had to make a bracelet for it that's interesting, strap. There's a fabric strap in addition to sort of this rubber strap. look at all the different versions of it. There's that one gold one that costs like close to $10,000, but
$9,000.
I mean, it's actually not a bad value for a gold watch in the end of the day. I don't feel like it's overpriced. I mean, yes, I guess they could charge less and maybe sell more watches. But again, when you hold the product, you wear it, it by no means feels overpriced.
Yeah, I'm just scrolling through the website for those who are watching on YouTube. Yeah, the gold one's pretty cool, even though it's $9,000.
Is it solid gold?
Let's see if there's still one available there.
The gold one?
There's 12 of them, I think.
I mean, $9,000 for the look at the size of that thing. Imagine a gold Ploprof. It would be like $65,000. And considering that a regular titanium Ploprof is like 15, 17 grand, like 1,700 doesn't seem that unreasonable for a ridiculous titanium in your face diver.
Yeah, it's definitely giving some of those Omega vibe loves. David, would you take up diving just so you could justify this watch?
Maybe. I'm really not into diving at all, but I quite like this watch. I really respect these guys, whoever they are, for pursuing and following through this. To take this from an idea to a finished product, that's a journey unto its own, and I deeply respect that. It's bunkers all the way through, and not crazy expensive either. So that's what a wonderful combination. Love it.
Yeah. All good. Okay, well that got a fairly healthy response on the hit miss. Maybe if you want to partake in the chat, then please do. Next up, David, something you've reviewed, which is the IWC Portugieser perpetual calendar in armor gold. I'm tempted already to give this move this from a hit to a maybe, just because it's named it's kind of gold. What on earth is armor gold? That suggests, that's a very leading term. I'm sure that suggests some sort of hardness scale. But is it anything to do with that at all? Is it false?
It's mold resistant, right?
Mold resistant. Tell us about this watch.
Yeah, it's a cool watch. You just have to look at it, and I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I think it's also a watch industry staple at this point, the Portugieser Perpetual. It's just such an amazing watch, and I was thrilled to see IWC treat it with respect, not go overboard with it. Actually, it's more refined, better proportion now than it used to be. It just looks like $1 million on the wrist, of the wrist, without... It's ostentatious, but not crazy ostentatious. You can get it in white gold if you want, and that tones things down a little bit. Overall, I think it's just a great looking watch with amazing functionality, dial layout, presence, all the rest of it. I think it's just a wonderful watch.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's lovely. Not so sure the butchering of the 12 o'clock. I think I would maybe not have bothered with the half one and the hook two. I would maybe just have left that like the marker is at 6. But let's give it some judgment. So is it a hit, a miss, or a maybe? 1, 2, 3, go. Hit. We're all very positive this morning. Second round of complete hits. Azad, why is this a hit for you?
To be honest, I don't think they can go wrong really with this model. Whatever they do with it, it's
I'm sure they could. Model. I'm sure if they put their heart and soul into it, they could absolutely mess this up if they really wanted to.
What, like a SpongeBob SquarePants version, maybe? Yeah.
Bob Pants Square Sponge, yes, him on the back, or a strap made of SpongeBob. If you made a strap out of SpongeBob, would you be allowed to bring that into California, or would that be considered cruelty to SquarePants?
Okay, if you made it out of a yellow sponge, it's synthetic. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think those are necessarily something you can easily turn into a strap. It's worth a try. See if California gets upset at you about it. I'm sure, or phone the Panaristi message boards. They probably have already used sea sponge for fabric straps.
for something somewhere.
Good. Yeah, it's a hit. I mean, just look at the thing. It's gorgeous. I don't always love rose gold watches. I think this is an exceptional version of it. As Azad said, the perpetual calendar itself is a great watch to begin with, and this just looks like $1 million. It's awesome.
Ariel, anything else other than this perpetual calendar float your boat when it comes to perpetual calendars, or is this just one of the nicest iterations of the complication that there is?
There aren't that many other ones that come to mind. For a long time in the community, they've always said that IWC's perpetual calendar is the movement to beat for a variety of reasons. It just does so much more than others. It's a bit more convenient than others. It's just a good value for the money. And what I like about it is it's sort of a tool watch, but kind of dressed like a dress watch. They put this movement in the pilot watch. It's like just as nice. And you're like, oh, that actually makes sense. So that's what I like about it, because it's sort of like the most formal way of saying, like, I'm a tool watch guy. And then in gold, it's very ballsy. It's expensive, but it's lovely. It's in a sense also very conservative. There's like no one anywhere is like, that's not appropriate for around here. So it's one of the most versatile high-end watches I can really think of.
David, what is Armor Gold? What's their justification for?
Yeah, I say this in the article that IWC is not very open about. I asked them about it. I reached out, and
nobody knew.
Say Armor Gold IWC is not particularly specific about.
Like Gold Tech by Panerai?
Yeah, it's just the gold is alloyed with other materials, and in this way assumes the desired color. Yeah, like any other gold. The material is produced using a sophisticated process and not an unsophisticated one, which is great. Yes, during which the microstructure of the alloy is transformed. Like, oh my God, this is true for anything. Yeah, yes. Basically, plastic is produced the same way, but whatever. As a result, the material is significantly harder and more wear resistant as conventional 5 in gold, whatever that means.
It means marketing.
We'll never know.
It means marketing. That's what it means.
Yeah. Treat it like gold.
$46,500 again. Maybe I'm just going senile. It doesn't seem an unreasonable amount of money for this watch.
Yeah.
I mean, it is lovely. It follows my rule. If you're going to use the perpetual calendar, then other than the year, which you're allowed to get away with, either use all dials or use all date or day windows. It uses all dials and it looks absolutely lovely. Right, well, let's see if this final watch can give us a clean sweep of Hitmas maybe this week. Ripley, this is one of yours. Hands-on Maurice Lacroix Aikon automatic 39mm blue PVD watch. I'm a big fan of the Aikon automatics. I would always recommend them as, if you've got slightly more than, moon swatch money to be getting into watches, then have a look at the Aikon series. Go from quartz right the way up to quite high spec mechanical skeletonized watches. But what did you think of the diminutive 39mm?
This is part of a duo
PVD?
they released last year in 2024. They're no-date versions of the Aikon. And the two Aikon PVD models are a 42mm one with a gunmetal finish and this one in 39mm with a dark blue finish. The whole concept of these is to showcase PVD. Obviously, PVD can be done in lots of different colors. Just like any PVD coating, the materials that ultimately result in the color get vaporized in a vacuum, bonded to the case, and that gives it its color. So certain colors will be more durable than others. In this case, you get a lovely shade of blue. I think the no-date format is really smart to do on this one, kind of lets it be more about the aesthetic. You don't get a matching PVD bracelet, so it's on a rubber strap. It's not really all that much more than a standard 39mm Aikon model, so, it's not like they're just charging an exorbitant amount for the novelty of color. They do make ceramic Aikon models as well, so for those who want that, they do have that. I like the blue better than the gunmetal among the trio, or among the duo, simply because you can get black or gunmetal and other materials, but this was a cool watch. It's fun. If you wanted an all blue watch but didn't want something really cheap or super expensive, this is a kind of a nice middle ground for a couple $1,000s. That's feels like a nice watch, but you get the all blue look.
Good stuff. Right, let's give it a vote. On the count of 3, is it a hit, a miss, or a maybe? 1, 2, 3, go. Maybes, hit, miss. So first miss, Azad. Why is it a miss?
I think for me, it's not so much the Aikon. I like the Aikon quite a lot, and getting it down to 39 mil will help a lot of people because the previous versions certainly wore large. The lug to lug was quite large. I think it's mostly the aesthetics of this one. It just looks plastic. It reminds me of the Blue Moon Swatch. So maybe the gunmetal one works out well, starts to look a little bit better. But I don't think the aesthetic really works, especially because it's just all blue. There's nothing that lets it stand out to make it look like it's not plastic. So maybe had they had, I don't know, the claws in a different color or some element in there, just your standard steel color, I think it would have helped it a little bit.
Yeah, I said it's a maybe. The Aikon has so many different iterations in it. I like the size. I like the no date. I don't know necessarily if this is the one I would choose. I might want it on a bracelet, but I do kind of wish they just went all the way and gave it a full metal blue PVD bracelet. That's the only reason it gets a maybe. I like a lot about it. I'd take this over quite a few other Aikon models, so it'd almost be a hit, but the rubber strap just sort of feels like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And for me, PVD is kind of one of those things like you'd enjoy it for a bit. Once it got a bit scratched, you just forget about it and wear it freely until it acquired enough that it has its own rugged looking patina in blue.
Ariel?
So I want to respond to what Azad said about the finishing, because I think I can see how we'd come to that conclusion, but I've seen these as well, and it's actually not plasticky and it's not one finishing. It's a combination of brushed and polished, which is sort of the base finishing on the steel, and then they apply the blue. So again, if it did look plastically, I would agree, but it actually doesn't really. Those claws or whatever on the lugs, those are polished, and the rest of the bezel, not the lugs, those claws on the bezel are polished. The rest of the bezel, in much of the case, is brushed. So it's actually a nice hue. I would actually prefer this to be a little bit larger, but this on the strap, it's surprisingly versatile. Blue is a very popular color these days, and I think many of us would argue that there's just many opportunities to wear a blue watch. It's legible, it's easy, you just set the time, it doesn't have the date, so you don't have to worry about that. So I think there's a lot of built-in comfort to it. I suspect that many of us would probably wear it more than we assume. If we had it, we might be the one that we choose to buy. But this is sort of like a sleeper hit, I think, in a lot of ways. So it's like it's sort of like the watch on your shelf that you just pick up. You want to grab it and go. You know the strap is going to be comfortable, so you can be a bit active with it. Bracelets sometimes aren't good for all situations. So again, it doesn't have a lot of like insane curb appeal, but there's a lot of little things that I think give it a fun versatility. And again, it's just probably not a lot of other metal blue watches in your collection.
David, would you be tempted?
Yeah, I fully agree with Ariel's assessment. I don't think it looks plasticky. Precisely, if you look at the lugs, the brushed parts, and all the rest of it, I've seen some of these in the metal. If you look at the reflection on the side of the bezel, these look expensive to my eyes. Maybe a little bit showy, but expensive to not the rubber strap, but the watch head itself. I think it's really neat. I like the Aikon too. I saw one of these in white ceramic the other day on a white ceramic bracelet, and it was bonkers. I think it's great. I'm happy it does well for Maurice Lacroix, and I'm also happy that people finally grew up to accepting it. I remember it came out in like 2016 or something like that. And in my mind, it was the first of these like major Royal Oak tributes from a big brand, and now we take this as granted, as a genre because of all of these like Royal Oak and others like, tribute watches. But at the time, everyone was like raising their eyebrows and saying like, oh, wow, okay, it's a big brand and it looks like an AP. But in a way, I think it filled a tremendous, niche in the market, and I'm happy it exists. And I'm also happy that Maurice Lacroix is not going down the AP way, but they are throwing all things at it, experimenting with it. This one looks particularly cool. I wish that the PVD coating lasted. I'm not sure how durable it is. Yeah. It would be fun to test.
$2,500. Is it reaching peak Lacroix at $2,500? That feels like it might be pushing being a little bit expensive.
Yeah, it's a $1,500 watch.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. But anyway, I gave it a maybe, but I mainly gave it a maybe just so that we didn't accidentally give everything full hits. I think I probably would quite like this, even though it's 39mm. It does beef out quite nicely on the strap. Right, that is our show for this week. If you are staying online, or if you want to go and check out the YouTube channel, aBlogtoWatch Week Live, you'll get a little bit extra because we're going to do a quick guess the price of the Audemars Piguet, which David requested last week. So you can stay on to go onto the live channel to have a look at that. Or that is it for your listening pleasure this week if you're tuned in on the podcast. So thank you for joining us. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone. Bye, everyone.